Welcome to our third session of Resting in Winter, and this session today is going to be even more restful than the last, in my opinion. And this whole sequence today is actually going to be lying down. And I'd like to explore, as we are in our winter theme, the concept of seeds and how they are buried, and yet they are the continuation of one season to the next. So even as they are buried, there is this rebirth that they also hold. So I invite you to have all of your props available. It would be helpful to have maybe 3 or 4 blankets even, depending on what you might need. Bolster, blocks, the whole thing, and anything else that calls to you. And we'll begin here in just a kind of like a shavasana position, really. We're just gonna be lying on our backs to start, and definitely have a block or your bolster nearby so that when you're lying down, you don't have to get up and grab it. So have that nearby. And I like to have a blanket underneath me on top of my mat, and it's just for comfort. So if you'd like to have one, go ahead and do so. And I invite you to join me, coming to lie on your back. And you might even have a blanket within reach if you're feeling a little chilly, or you would just like that extra covering. Go ahead and maybe even drape that over you to start. And so as you come to lie on your back, I invite you to draw your knees in toward your chest. If that feels like it would be helpful for your lower back. Maybe wrapping your hands around your knees just to start. And you might rock from side to side, giving your lower back a little massage. And from this place of having your knees pulled in toward your chest, taking a moment to connect to this idea of being a seed, of course, metaphorically, and as we continue to explore the concepts and aspects of winter as it applies to our post-traumatic growth. This seed is what carries life from death. When plants at the end of summer and into fall begin to die away, they give off seeds as a way of continuing life in the next season. And some seasons leave us feeling like we have just explored the underworld and we aren't sure what's left or what's next in this next season. So for this session today, I invite you to hold on to that seed, the seed that is buried, but is rich in potential, rich with life. And it's this moment of waiting for spring. That's what the seed is waiting for, and it will bloom again. So if you're ready to stretch your legs out long, option to do so. Taking a pause here. Perhaps stretching through your toes or rolling through your ankles. You might even take a full body stretch, reaching your arms overhead. bringing your awareness, when you are ready, to the feeling of the mat and the floor beneath you. And underneath that is earth, somewhere, whether it be multiple levels below you or not too far beneath you, there is earth. And so can we take a moment to just acknowledge the earth beneath us, the rich soil, maybe even feeling the support of the earth holding you up. Taking another 3 or 4 rounds of breath here. I'd like to begin with just a little bit of spine movement to prepare our bodies for where we're going today. So in your own timing, you might start to plant your feet on the floor, perhaps about hip distance apart. And we'll begin to press our heels into the mat, and you might notice your tailbone and your hips begin to peel up just a little bit, and you can follow that peeling motion up the spine. And then as you exhale, you can peel the spine right back down. So it's kind of like peeling a sticker off of a page. As you press the heels down, inhaling, peeling your tailbone and working your way up your spine, right up off of the earth, and then exhale, maybe reversing that motion, mindfully peeling your spine right back down. And if you'd like to continue, we'll take another 3 or 4 movements here. Rounds of movements. Allowing your spine this moment of tender care. This whole class today will, as far as the sequence goes, will revolve around the spine and our side bodies. Last movement. And the next time you find your hips and your tailbone resting back down on the earth, you might grab your block or your bolster. I'm going to use a bolster today just because I like the cushion. And pressing your heels down one more time, lifting the hips up. You could slide your bolster or your block underneath you so that now you have lots of support. And if it's a block that you have underneath you and you would like a little bit of extra cushion, you might drape a blanket over that block. And just for safety's sake, it might not feel supportive to have that block directly on your tailbone. You would want to move it up a little bit. The choice is yours, but there could be some discomfort there. So just noticing that, noticing if you need to shift your block. The bolster is a little bit easier because it's just so soft and broad. You don't have to worry too much about the placement. So settling into this shape, taking a moment to adjust, and then deciding for yourself if you'd like to keep your legs bent with your feet planted on the floor, or you might explore extending your legs out long if your body feels ready for that. Really allowing yourself to shift into this shape. Laying a blanket over you if that feels comforting. And we'll be here for the next 3 minutes or so. However, please know that you can always leave the shape sooner or stay longer. And I'd like to share a passage with you. Speaking of winter and earth and being buried, ready for transformation. These words are by Brigit Anna McNeill, and she writes, "The days are darker, the soil blackening with the rotting down of the past. I breathe in the petrichor, the fungus and the darkness, feeling safe in their arms, knowing that this is where glory grows. This is the womb of life." This moment right here, this is where glory grows. This is the womb of life. And you are the seed. Everything you've experienced in life, everything that has brought you to this moment, gives way to new life. Noticing where your mind goes. If it's wandered away from practice, you might gently bring your attention back. Noticing how your breath moves while your body becomes still. We'll take another 8 or so rounds of breath here. Noticing if your body is still tensing or holding on, maybe trying to protect. And would it be okay to invite your body to soften? Or maybe even ask your body, how can I support you in your softening? How can I support you in letting go a little bit more effort? Last breath here. If you are ready to move out of this shape, you might plant your feet on the floor if they aren't already, and pressing into your feet, lifting the hips and sliding your prop away, lowering the hips back down and pausing here for a moment. just giving our bodies a moment to rebound. And then if you'd like to, you might begin to roll over onto one side. It doesn't matter which side, but if you have a bolster here, we'll be taking a side-lying shape. And with your bottom leg straight, you could move your bolster right up against your bottom leg. And then bending your top leg and draping it over your bolster to support your hips. You might even take a block or a blanket and slide it underneath your head to support your cervical spine. And then we'll just pause here for a moment. We'll take about 15 to 16 breaths here. Last few breaths here. You can stay here for as long as you want. And if and when you decide to move on, you might begin to slowly, taking all of the time that you need, to begin to press yourself up. As we shift our props and prepare for our next shape, but pausing at the top for just a moment. Taking a breath. And then we'll move our bolster so that it lies the width of our mat. And it would be helpful to have a couple blankets or a block even, and we'll be taking a side-lying shape again, but this time with a nice supportive lateral stretch. And so you'll need something to support your neck, just like we were just in this other side-lying shape. So to start, you could kind of set a block or a blanket over there, or maybe even taking your block and draping your blanket over it. I kind of like that because the block is nice and sturdy and will hold you up. So sitting with one hip, I'm going to start with my left side, but you can start with either side, it doesn't matter. But sitting with your hip toward your bolster. It doesn't matter how your legs are necessarily, because once you get into it, you can adjust them however you want. But finding this length on the side of your body that is facing the bolster, you might even inhale and reach your arms up. And then as you exhale, you could begin to send your body toward your bolster. finding the space in between the bolster and your block for your arm to go, and then drawing your block or blanket, whatever it is, close to your head. Change the level of your block depending on how far or close your head is from it, and then adjust. So if your ribs that are resting on the bolster feel kind of crunched and you need more space, you might need to move a little bit away from the bolster so that your hip isn't on the bolster. So it might require you to move further away, lengthen, and then settle back in. So really adjust and make sure that you feel supported. So your legs can be maybe resting on top of one another or bent. They could be staggered, or you could even stretch your legs out long, and then taking your top arm, you could rest it over the side of your body. Or if you want to increase the sensation on the open side of your body, these ribs that are facing up towards the sky, you could breathe in and reach your top arm up, and then exhale, drape it over the side of your head, so maybe over your ear, noticing that when you stretch your top arm up, it also stretches the side of your body. And you could, if you don't like your top arm dangling, you could take your other block and place it where it'll catch your hand. And we'll be here for about 26 or so breaths. Giving yourself permission, if you're not totally supported, to readjust. And then once you find where you want to be, bring some awareness to your muscles. Perhaps you can invite your body to soften with your next exhale. It doesn't have to be 100% if your body isn't ready for that. Maybe it's 50%, or however much you're ready for. Perhaps you continue to focus on your exhales, noticing that each time you breathe out, there's this moment of settling. There's this moment of growing a little bit heavier, sinking a little bit more into the props beneath you. We'll take another 5 or so rounds of breath here. Last one. In your own timing, you might begin to release your top arm if you had it stretched overhead. And then really taking your time to curl your knees up, using your arms to slowly press away. I invite you to pause when you get to the top. Let's take a few breaths. Checking in with the two sides of your body, noticing how you feel on the right side compared to your left side. And then we'll switch sides. So just simply turning your body in the other direction. So checking to make sure that your hip that is now facing this side, make sure that you have enough space in between. It might be more than you think, just so that when you lay on the bolster, your hip isn't laying on it, and it can create this shortening in the side of our body that kind of defeats the purpose of this shape. But you will know when you feel right here based on how you feel in your body. So you could begin to inhale and lengthen your arms up, maybe even stretching over away from the bolster for a moment before you start to lean and drape over. And really do that as many times as you need to until you kind of find that sweet spot. And then once you arrive, sometimes you get it on the first try, sometimes you don't. All right. Once you arrive, you can decide if you'd like to have your top arm resting along your side, or maybe you inhale and reach it up overhead, draping it over your top ear. Maybe you allow your hand to rest on a block. And what you did on one side might not be what you do on this side. You can change your mind. The two sides of our bodies are so different. One of my teachers would say they are siblings, not twins. They are so different. So check in on this side of your body and ask yourself, what do I need here? What do I need to feel supported? And we'll be here for the next 26 or so rounds of breath. I invite you to bring your attention to your exhales. The longer you are here, sinking into this shape, you might notice your exhales growing a little bit longer, a little bit slower. Scanning through your body, finding any area that might be holding on still. And you might invite this area of your body to start to let go a little bit. Maybe it's your jaw, maybe it's your shoulders, maybe it's somewhere else. Giving your body those last 6 breaths that we're going to take here to let go and settle in even deeper. Last breath. If you're ready to release your top arm, you might do so. And beginning to ease out of this shape. No rush. Pausing and noticing what is present for you in this moment. What do you feel? For our next shape, we'll be taking a different variation of fish pose. And this one is really located up in our thoracic spine, so the upper part of our back. And you really don't need to change your setup too much. We're kind of already set up for it. And once you get into it, of course, you can always adjust. So have something to catch your head, and then our bolster will stay as is. And the space in between the bolster and the block, you might need to kind of figure out once you get into it. But we'll turn away from our bolster, and again, how far away you are from your bolster, you might need to figure out and find what length and distance works best for your body. But We're gonna lay back against our bolster so that your shoulders and your arms can kind of drape over a little bit, and then your head is caught by your block or blanket, whatever is underneath you. You might get it on the first try, you might not. But a good way to find out if you are, if the spacing is, I don't want to say correct because it really is different for everybody, but a tip that might be helpful is if you find that when you drape your arms over your bolster, that your arms are closer up towards your ears, you might need to scoot up a little bit. So another way to say that would be that your shoulders are technically not on the bolster, but your shoulder blades are. Hopefully that helps and doesn't confuse. So this is a really big heart opening shape. And you have a couple options here. You might leave your legs extended out long, or you might plant your feet on your mat, especially if your lower back feels like a little tense when you extend your legs out. It might be helpful to plant your feet. And you might plant your feet as wide as your mat if you decide to do that, and allow your knees to fall inward, and notice that this allows your legs to do less work, put forth less effort. So those are two options. Or you might allow the soles of your feet to come together and your knees to open wide, coming into like a butterfly shape. And as always, you could drape a blanket over yourself here. And you can always change your mind. We'll be here for the next 20 or so rounds of breath. I welcome you to bring your awareness back into your breath, but this time, can you notice how your breath moves through your front body? So through your chest and your stomach and the front of your ribs. Five more rounds of breath. Last one. You can stay here longer if you want to, or you might begin to ease your way out. And we'll take our very last shape before our final resting time of the class. We'll be taking a supported twist. And you'll need your bolster and a blanket. Maybe a block, but maybe not. So have things within reach just in case, you never know. So I'll start on my left side. I'm going to lay on my left side. So coming into a side lying shape, with your legs straight, you could send your bolster to lay right in front of you, right in front of your legs. And taking your top leg, you could rest it on your bolster. And then pausing here for a moment, breathing in, breathing out. With your exhale, you might begin to peel your top shoulder back. And if you're if you're on your left side like I am, you'll peel your right shoulder back. And then your left shoulder, if it feels like it's kind of jammed up underneath you, you might need to pick up your left shoulder and kind of scooch it out of the way. So coming here, if it feels like your right leg, your top leg that's on your bolster, is having a hard time staying put and it feels like you're just gonna kind of like topple out of it, you could take a blanket, a folded blanket, and kind of using it like a weight, you could drape it over your ankle to kind of help you stay in place. And you have a couple options with your top body, your arms. You might open your arms out to the side, perhaps your palms face up, or if you want to be a little bit more contained, you might simply just rest your hands on your torso, on your ribs, wherever they naturally land. And of course, shifting and wiggling until you find the right spot for you. If your your right elbow, whichever arm is your top arm, if your right elbow is not touching the floor and it just feels like it's kind of dangling there and it's uncomfortable, you could take a folded blanket or a block and slide it underneath your right elbow to kind of bridge that gap so that you have some support. I invite you to be here in this shape for the next 20 rounds of breath. Your gaze could be neutral, or you could look to the left or the right, whatever feels most natural to you. of breath. Last one. Slowly easing your way out if you're ready to. And coming to lie on your back. Giving your spine a moment to come back to center. And then shifting all of your props, coming to lie on your opposite side. So I'm going to lie on my right side, and bolster is right in front of my straight legs, and my top leg will rest on the bolster. And then taking a breath, exhaling and allowing your top shoulder, if you're ready to peel open. You might need to shift your weight up and move your bottom shoulder out of the way. Create some room. Maybe using a blanket over your top ankle. Finding your way into this side of your twist. You might like a folded blanket or a block underneath your left elbow or whichever arm is on top. You could plant your hands, resting them on your torso somewhere, or you could just let them fall open to the sides. Shifting your gaze and your neck to wherever it feels natural. And we'll take 20 breaths here. 5 more breaths. Last one. Taking your time unraveling from this shape. Option to lie on your back and you might even allow your knees to come back in toward your chest, perhaps rocking from side to side for a moment. We'll begin to shift into our time of final rest. So you can choose any resting shape that calls to you. Maybe if you are comfortable here on your back, you could slide your bolster or roll that blanket underneath your legs. Or you could always lie on your stomach, your side, or even send your legs up the wall. It's your choice. You can rest in any way that you want. Maybe draping a blanket over you. I like to take a folded blanket and place it over my torso because it kind of creates this, like this weight. You could also use your blocks or anything else. And as we settle in, we will be here for just a shorter amount of time since we've spent so much time resting. About 3 minutes. And if you'd like, you could exhale all of the air from your body and take a conscious breath in through your nose and out of the mouth. Settling in for your time of rest, your Shavasana. And I'll be quiet now for these 3 minutes, and I'll let you know when the time is complete. Please feel free to stay here for as long as you desire to. And at any point that you are ready to move away from this time of rest, you might take a deeper breath in or add some small movements back into your body. Option to roll over onto your side if that's a good transition place. Pausing for just a moment. And then whenever you press yourself up, you might join me in any seated shape. But no rush if you are still receiving from wherever you're at. You might place your hands wherever you like, or you could meet me with hands at heart center. And if you want to join me for one collective breath, then you might exhale all of your air out. And then we'll breathe in together. My hope for you is that you feel safe, connected, and at home in your body. Thank you.